The scrappy never say die. Sharks do it again. They come back from 2-goal deficit in the third period to win it in overtime, officially streaking now with a 3-game win streak. So we'll talk about that. Check in on the numbers behind this game and look at the other Tankathon contenders' immediate schedules. So all that and more on today's episode.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And the Sharks, scrappy, never say die. Sharks come back and win it in overtime 3-2 over the New York Rangers in a game where they looked dead in the water for about a good chunk of this game, but came out in the third period and took it to the Rangers and were able to steal a win. There's 2 games in a row where they have stolen a win from a superior opponent. So we'll talk about kind of how they were able to pull this off. We'll talk about Alexander Barabanov, how he's looking back to vintage Alexander Barabanov. And we'll check in with the other Tankathon contenders and see kind of what their immediate schedules look like and why this is. I know there's worries about if the Sharks can land Celebrini. We'll check in and see why there's still plenty of time. It's a long season, folks. So before we get into all that, do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you guys by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL. Get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. This team is it's crazy how since Couture has come back, just how much this team just kind of, and even before Couture came back, and it's Sturm and Couture both coming back, and just how much better this team has looked. And this is nothing against Mikael Granlund. Mikael Granlund is great. I'm really excited to see what happens when you have an actual center depth of Hurdle, Couture / Granlund / Couture, Nico Sturm. Like you know that this team could actually be entertaining to watch as we, get to the trade deadline. But yeah, man, like this game would have earlier this season, this game would have been one of those 2-0 going into the third period. And then all of a sudden it's 5-1 Rangers, where the Sharks just kind of, it felt like the entire game that like the first 2 periods of this game of the dam's about to break, and you're just going to have the Rangers just pot like 3 goals in 4 minutes, right? We've seen that from the Sharks so many times where just one thing happens and then it just compounds and the wheels fall off, and just didn't happen tonight. And I think they just, again, second night of a back-to-back where you had to travel back home. The Rangers were sitting there waiting for you, and they looked like they fresher team, and it looked like the Rangers were kind of playing with the Sharks for a little bit. And I wonder if they just kind of like got up to 2-0 and were like, I don't want to say took the foot off the gas, but kind of felt like, okay, we got this in hand. The Sharks aren't going to score 2 goals or 3 goals on Shesterkin. We're good. Like, they haven't really done anything. But yeah, the scrappy team right now. And again, very much Team Tank, et cetera, et cetera. But this season has been such a whiplash, right? You just think about how much the Sharks have either, how they've just been so streaky with stuff, right? You start the season with the 10-1, right? you finally get your first 2 wins, and then it's kind of a couple losses, kind of a smattering of wins and losses. And then, of course, the East Coast trip, right, where you win 2 games. Even before then, you win 2 games before you go on the East Coast trip. You win against New Jersey. You're winning a bunch of games here, or being really competitive. And then you turn around and you lose 11 straight games before winning against Montreal. And now we're just in that winning streak again. And the Sharks have plenty of tough games coming up. I know their schedule does soften up the second half of the season, and we'll get into the schedule a bit more, but it's just been so streaky. And right now they're just on a winning streak. And, the way this season has played out, I think they're just, instead of being a win 1 out of 3 or win 1 out of 4, I think they're just going to be streaky, where they're going to win 3 or 4 games, and then they're going to lose a bunch of games in a row. And they're going to win 3 or 4 games, and they're going to lose a bunch of games in a row. And that's just kind of how this season has been for the Sharks. And I think right now they're just in the winning streak era of the season. So one guy I want to highlight tonight was Alexander Barabanov. And I think Barabanov can, you can kind of point to just how he was a big topic of the offseason, right? Of what should the Sharks do with him? Should they extend him? What type of money would you give him, extend him, et cetera, et cetera. Start of the season, as part of the Sharks' terrible start, looked horrible, looked off, and then he breaks his finger, a couple games into the season and misses 5 weeks, and comes back, and it just, you're kind of waiting for him. He feels like he's kind of a passenger. But tonight you felt like there's the Barabanov we know and love. That's the vintage Alexander Barabanov. And he's the reason they won the game in overtime, right? His ability to, get the puck, possess the puck, and just hold, keeping, kind of protecting the puck until he kind of sees Jan Ruda. Both congrats to Hurdle and Ruda there for both setting soft picks. Again, that happens all the time, right? Great picks. We are able to open up space. Barabanov takes advantage of the space, finds Ruda. Ruda finds Hurdle. Bam, pots at home. And Hurdle, we'll talk about a little bit, I thought he had a terrible night tonight. It just looked off and just looked, I want to say, like lethargic or whatever. He just was not himself. But that's why you keep Tomas Hurdle around, because he's still a special player, can do special things. And even on a night when Tomas Hurdle didn't look his best, guess what? He scores the game winner tonight. And you could just see, especially in the post-game interview, how happy he was to do that. But just kind of the joy, right? And I think he knows better days are going to be coming, and who knows how long they're going to get. He knows better days are going to be coming. I think the Sharks are building something. It's going to be slow and painful, but the Sharks are building something. But back to Barabanov. Tonight was just flying around, making stuff happen. And that's when Barabanov's at his best, is being that creative guy, kind of making space for himself and making space for others. And we know Barabanov's passing, it's so good, and his vision's so good. And you just saw that on display tonight. And it's just, that's what you want to see. And that's especially as we head into the All-Star break, and then, a month later, the trade deadline, as you're going to have to make a big decision on Barabanov. And it's nice to see Barabanov return to form. And if he can continue to play this way, that I think that decision will be tougher, but in a good way, right? Of what do you want to do with Barabanov? And I still think I know this season's been off, but we know if Barabanov can play well, I think that drives up his trade value if you want to trade him. Or I think you can kind of earmark that Kevin LeBanc money that's going to be coming off the books at the end of the season. That I still think that 4 years, $4 million a year feels really fair for Barabanov, for a team that, it's going to have some cap space. They're going to have plenty of cap space this year, and we'll have plenty of time to dig into cap space as the Sharks season will definitely be not going to the playoffs. But so we can speculate about it'll be fun to talk about real free agents this year and stuff. But we haven't been able to do that here at Locked On Sharks, is talk about actual spending money at free agency. It'll be pretty weird to do. But again, just, you feel happy for you guys, especially with such a long season, and it's been such a weird season. So we'll get into the numbers behind this game here and talk about how the Rangers is unable to take advantage of their opportunities. Looking at you, power play. So we'll do all that here in just 1 second. If you need to find a candidate, why search when you can get matched to a candidate? When it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that can helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So join more than the 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. If you need to also save a little bit of money, because who doesn't want to save some money? Listeners to the show can get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visible at Indeed.com/locked-on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, so let's dig into the numbers. And man, this game, it was such a weird game because it felt like watching the game. It just felt like the Rangers kind of controlled the game. And I check in on natural stat trick, and again, analytics there's always the community on analytics, et cetera, et cetera. But this was a game where the analytics and the eye test did not match because it felt like the Rangers were controlling this game. But you look at the shots on goal, and it was pretty even throughout most of the game until kind of the middle of the second period. I think kind of the Rangers really kind of took, but it was pretty even. It felt pretty, or watching it felt very much Rangers. The analytics say it was slight Rangers, but the Sharks did have their edges. So we had 48 minutes of 5v5 time, a lot of penalties in this game. I think that's the big difference. Both teams got 3 power plays, and neither one were to take advantage. And while that sounds weird, that's actually advantage Sharks because the Rangers power play is ridiculous, right? I think they mentioned the broadcast they're operating at 29% coming into this game. They go 0 for 3, and for the Sharks, especially their penalty kill, which has struggled all season long, getting the Rangers to go 0 for 3 on the power play, that's house money right there. That's the difference. That's the reason why this wasn't a 5-1 Rangers win. Instead, it was a 3-2 Sharks win in overtime. But 48 minutes of 5v5 time. Shot attempts were 48-44 in favor of the Rangers. So much closer than I thought it was. Actual shots was 25-17 in favor of the Rangers. Scoring chances 22-18 in favor of the Rangers. High danger chances 10-7 in favor of the Rangers. So again, all in favor of the Rangers, but it's not this huge margin that we're used to seeing from the Sharks. Even going back to yesterday's game with against LA, where just massive differences in the shot attempts, et cetera, by San Jose into LA. This game was very close. Even though watching it, it felt like Rangers were just kind of controlling the pace for the first 2 periods. Expected goals for 1.89 to 1.69 in favor of the Sharks. So again, the Sharks quality over quantity, that has kind of been the staple of this team for the under the David Quinn era. They just kind of hang in there, and then they take advantage of the opportunities that they had. For the forward lines tonight, so we had the Barabanov, Couture, Duclair line, Zetterlund, Hurdle, Hoffman. Then we had Eklund, Sturm, Cunnin, and then Zadina, Carpenter, Bailey. The hurdle line played the most at 1240. They had 15 shot attempts, gave up 8. Actual shots was 4-6. No goals for, didn't give up a goal. 0.65 to 0.2 expected goals for in favor of that line. 7-3 scoring chances, 2-2 high danger chances, with 5-3-5 zone starts. So Hurdle, even though he didn't have the greatest game, this line still dominated and was really good tonight. And Zetterlund's so good, man. The Sharks really. We're gonna review the Timo Meier trade here at some point soon, and man, Zetterlund's turned into something for San Jose. So, Barabanov, Couture, Duclair played 11-24. Shot attempts are 4-14. Not good there. 2-5 scoring or shots, actual 4. No goals for, did give up a goal. 0.9 to 0.52 expected goals for. 1-5 scoring chances, 1-4 high danger chances, 3-5 for the zone starts for them. I think, though, that line was kind of getting the tough assignments, and they hung in there. They kind of hung in there. And I think having Couture back, you're going to see him continue to kind of get matched up against those tough assignments. And this line just needs to kind of take advantage of the opportunities that they're given. And again, I thought Barabanov was flying all around the ice tonight and created a lot of chaos, even though they maybe didn't result as shots or shot attempts, but you could kind of feel Barabanov's presence. And I wonder if just having Couture back with him, kind of reuniting that line, and even Duclair, I thought both those guys were kind of flying around a lot. And I think that's just kind of how this line is going to be built. Barabanov, Duclair, you guys go do crazy stuff and let Couture kind of play some defense, kind of be the responsible adult of the line. So Eklund, Sturm, Cunnin, 6:52 time on ice, 8-5 shot attempts in favor of that line, 4-3 actual shots. Did have the goal. 0.41 to 0.11 expected goals for, 2-4 scoring chances, 1 high danger chance for, 2-4 zone starts. So kind of a little bit more defensive zone starts, but that line just kind of blue collar work, right? And that was literally how the goal was scored. Cunnin comes in on the forecheck, kind of makes the Rangers defenseman not able to do anything. He kind of panics a little bit, and then the puck bounces around and it gets to Nico Sturm. Nico Sturm pots it home, and Nico Sturm has been, as much as we talk about Couture's return to the lineup and how much it sparked this team, Nico Sturm, right? Huge on the bottom 6, because you're not having to play guys out of position. Guys are playing more than their natural, right? You're not having to put Philip Zadina or Luke Cunnin or some of these other guys who've had to play bottom 6 roles because they've got nobody else to play like as centers. Everyone just fits better right now. So good. I think Eklund played pretty well tonight as well. Much better game yesterday, but I think he was still very impactful. And that's, stringing together these games and this plan that Quinn has had with Eklund of, let's put him on the third line, maybe give him a little bit easier opponents. You're not kind of playing the other team's top 6. You're not playing the other team's best defense. See if you can kind of build some confidence going. I think it's working. So good for that line. And then Zadina, Carpenter, Bailey. Didn't play a lot, but they continue to be very impactful. 4:40 time on ice, 6-6 shot attempts, 3-4 actual shots. Another goal, Ryan Carpenter. Man, Ryan Carpenter, revenge. Anytime he plays the Rangers, just revenge for Ryan Carpenter. Again, just kind of that lunch pail mentality. Carpenter being responsible, and then Justin Bailey, use your speed on the forecheck, and Philip Zadina, like those guys have just really kind of taken on that role, and of they know exactly what they are, they know exactly what their purpose is, and they've been kind of playing it really, really well right now. And I don't expect to see a Ryan Carpenter, was he on 4-game point streak? I don't think that's a sustainable thing, but Ryan Carpenter he's been a journeyman. He's traveled around. He's played for a lot of teams. And it's just kind of good to see him get rewarded for all that hard work. So As for the defenseman, so again, no Mario Ferraro. He's not going to be back until after the All-Star break, which I think is a smart move, right? Basically, just get through another week, and then you get 2 weeks off. So he was officially put on IR. They didn't bring anyone up yet, and they also said Scott Sabrin, so they do have a slot. So we'll see what they do. I assume it's still going to be a defenseman brought up because they only have 6 healthy defensemen, and Henry Thrun was a little banged up at the end of this game. But William Ekman also, of course, he fought tonight, 60.61. So good for him. But as for the defensemen, so Kalen Addison, 17 shot attempts, 14 allowed, 54.8 for Corsi 4. Vlasic, who I think has, again, been playing really well the past couple games, 19 to 18 shot attempts, 51.35. Ahochuk, 14-46 time on ice in all situations, 14 to 15 shot attempts, 48.28 Corsi 4. Ruda, 22.4 minutes, 17 to 22 shot attempts, 43.59. And then Thrun, 20.49 minutes or 20 minutes, 49 seconds, 15 to 25 shot attempts. But Thrun has been getting the tough matchups, right, and playing penalty kill, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, with Thrun, I think Thrun's been amazing. I am so impressed with Thrun. I said it yesterday. I'll continue to say it because Thrun's awesome and just looks like he's like a 10-year veteran out there, just the way he kind of is cool, calm, and collected. And once he actually becomes a veteran, he's going to be so freaking good. So exactly what you need. Dakota says hi. So, yeah. And then, of course, Mackenzie Blackwood, who made some saves when he had to, but was not like overly, wasn't the toughest game Mackenzie Blackwood has had to play. We'll just put it like that. So 29 saves on 31 shots. So 2 goals against. Expected goals against was 2.21. So right where he's expected to be. 6 high danger saves on 7 high danger shots. 10 mid danger saves on 10 mid danger shots. And then 12 low danger saves on 13 low danger shots. So again, easier night for Mackenzie Blackwood. Made some big saves when he had to. That Panarin goal was freaking just disgusting. And Panarin's really good at hockey. So, yeah, I thought Blackwood, again, seems like he's kind of back to where, kind of from his injury, et cetera, or being sick or whatever. I forget what he had, but he's back to kind of being Mackenzie Blackwood. So we'll take a look at the other Tankathon contenders here in just 1 second. It's past the halfway point of the season. I know Sharks fans, it's been a rough one. And yes, the Sharks are still dead last in the standings. I want to remind you that you can still win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app on the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our #1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick studs, whether they're NHL superstars like McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, or even some of your favorite Sharks players like Hurdle, Slippery Pete, Zetterlund, and record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Sharks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, let's get into the Tankathon standings and kind of, again, take a deep breath. Still a long season. The Sharks still control their fate into the draft lottery. So the Sharks have played 48 games, which is tied for the most in the NHL. Only basically Tampa, Philly, and Vegas have all played 48 games. So something to keep in mind, games at hand, those are more opportunities for you, a team, to get points. Chicago plays tomorrow, Wednesday. So they will tie the Sharks again here really soon. But as for right now, so on Tuesday night, San Jose, Chicago, both tied right now with 30 points and both had 9 regulation wins. Anaheim is third. They have 33 points with 11 regulation wins. Columbus is fourth with 37 points in 46 games. So they have a couple games in hand with 9 regulation wins. And then Ottawa is fifth with 43 games. They have 37 points with 15 regulation wins in hand. So I mentioned the regulation wins because that is the first. If the points are tied, regulation wins are the first tiebreaker. Whoever has more regulation wins, the lower the regulation wins you are, the better. So that's the first tiebreaker when it comes to that. Yeah, ties are broken by teams, total number of regulation wins, then regulation and non-shootout wins, and then head-to-head if still tied. So those regulation wins are really important to kind of keep an eye on. So it's better if the Sharks are going to win a game. It's better to win a game in overtime or a shootout than it is to win in a game in regulation. So because you need more help, basically, is what that's saying. So the Sharks, we're going to look at the schedule for until the All-Star break. So the Sharks still have 3 games left until the All-Star break. So they're off until Saturday, where they play the Buffalo Sabres at a 1 p.m. start. And they play Tuesday versus Seattle, Wednesday versus Anaheim. So Buffalo, tough game, but a couple of factors in the Sharks' favor. The afternoon games, the Sharks they're just usually bad at those for some reason. The internal clock, et cetera. Buffalo, who is an East Coast team, it's usually coming to the West Coast. They've been playing on the West Coast here for a little bit, but they are. Do they have a? They play on Wednesday, and then they don't play again until Saturday. So both teams will be well rested. Sabres have been out here, et cetera. And the Sharks just lose to the Sabres all the time. So Tuesday, Sharks play Seattle at home. I know Seattle has been kind of struggling right now. They've lost 4 in a row, but Seattle's got a couple. They have a few games between now and then, so we won't really look at their schedule, but they will be rested. They play Sunday, then they're off Monday, and play Tuesday. So Sunday at home, and then they travel to San Jose. So it's not like a huge road trip for them. But I mean, the Seattle's been kind of really good against the Sharks the past, since they've kind of come in the league, including a 7-1 beatdown of them before Thanksgiving. So big game though is the 31st when they play the Ducks. And that one for Anaheim, they're going to be well rested. Sharks going to be on the second night of a back-to-back where they have to travel from San Jose to Anaheim. And the Ducks, who will look at their schedule here in a little bit, they're going to be well rested because they play on Saturday and they don't play again until Wednesday. So that favors in the Ducks right there. So Sharks, all these are very losable games for San Jose. Some winnable games, but these are the games I think that you kind of have to look at as there's a lot of favors going in the other team's direction here. So as for the Ducks, so they won against Buffalo tonight. They play Thursday at Dallas. Dallas is #good, and they've been on a winning. They've been playing pretty well here as well. So just going to chalk that one up as a loss to Anaheim. But then they play Saturday against Minnesota. Minnesota has been playing better. They've won 3 in a row, but this team has been really streaky as well. And Minnesota is going to be well rested as well. They're normally rested as well. So, and it is in Minnesota. So we'll see. That's a kind of a coin flip game where I think the Ducks can win that game. And then again, they play versus San Jose at home, last game before The Sharks going to be on the second night of a back-to-back. So that's a very winnable game for Anaheim right there to help kind of spread give a little bit more a space between the Sharks and Anaheim. So next is the big one, Chicago. So they play at Seattle. Again, they play Seattle Wednesday night at Seattle. That's a coin flip game, I think. I know the Kraken have been struggling. They've scored in the last 4 games, they've scored 0-2-2-1, which is right up the Blackhawks alley of just, can we grind out like a 2-1 type of win right there. Then Chicago plays Thursday against Edmonton. That's going to be a loss. Edmonton is red hot. Actually, the funniest thing ever would be if the Edmonton Oilers lost to the Blackhawks to end their 14-game losing streak. But I'm going to just say that's Edmonton's win right there. And then they end their break. They finish their kind of break on Saturday versus Calgary. And again, Calgary's been kind of meh this as well. They're on a 3-game losing streak as well. So a lot of coin flip games here. And I think if Chicago can steal one of those games, whether it's the against the Wild, which will be, if they can, not the Wild, sorry, if either against Seattle or against Calgary, if they can steal one of those games, they'll be feeling pretty good about where the Sharks are heading going into the All-Star break. So just as a reminder, doesn't matter if the Sharks have a 1-point advantage or a 30-point advantage, or between them and Chicago, it's the same lottery odds, excuse me. So again, you just want to be ahead of Chicago. And don't forget, Chicago's going to get Connor Bedard back at some point. Him coming back is going to be huge for them. So yeah, that's going to be it for me tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with our first draft profile. So make sure you guys are following along for that. And then Friday, we're going to look at some potential trades. Maybe trying to, if Mike Grier wants to be aggressive and try to add some young NHL pieces that are potentially out there, kind of just look at some of the names and kind of, make the case for and against. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. If you're not following on Instagram, we're getting really close to 1,000 followers. Please, it's a lot of the clips and all the same stuff, but Instagram is fun. So make sure you guys are following along on there. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. Until tomorrow, bye, friends.